I think since we have a quorum, we'll go ahead and start. This is a regular meeting of the representative town meeting of Darien. And I'm going to call the meeting to order. First item on the agenda is acceptance of the agenda. And I have a request with no exception, if you will permit it. I'd like to add item 21-22 to the agenda. Would put it in as item 11. It has to do with a grant, getting a grant from the state for creating a affordable housing plan. If there are no objections, I will add it. Are there any objections?
Raise your hand if you have an objection. I see no hands raised, Seth.
All right, then we will add it to the agenda as item 11. We have mailed out the resolution, even though it wasn't on the agenda. We mailed out the resolution so you'd all have that. Next item is approval of the minutes of May 10, regular meeting. Do I have a motion, please?
Bert von Stuppelnagel.
Thank you, Bert. Second?
Barbara Thorne.
Thank you, Barbara. Are there any additions, deletions, comments?
I don't see any hands raised.
All right, you're ready to vote?
Would you like me to send a polling question?
Would you? Thank you. All those in, complete the polling question, please. Thank you.
Okay, with a minute gone, 100% have voted yes.
Oh, wonderful. Then the minutes have been approved. Next item is announcements. A few items. Monica McNally, who was vice chair of the Rules Committee, was elected to the Board of Selectmen. I'm just sorry we're not all here in a room where we can kind of clap, but congratulations, Monica. Have a great tenure there. To replace her on the Rules Committee, Lois Schneider was elected vice chair of the Rules Committee. She also holds the position of substitute moderator in the event that I am not there, and she is also chair of the Technology Committee of the Rules Committee. Further announcements. Clara Sartori tells me we have a vacancy in District 2. For those of you in District 2, if you would be interested in serving, please get in touch with her. I sent out an email earlier today showing you vacancies that we have in town bodies. I didn't want to read them all here tonight. Monica McNally, as one of her first acts, put together the list and asked me to send it out, and we've done that. So take a look. If there are committees or that you would like to serve on, or boards, please get in touch with the town clerk, and they can get you organized to apply for that. If you are a member of the Republican Party or the Democratic Party, you can contact the Republican Town Committee or the Democratic Town Committee. Next item is,
That's,
yes,
hey, it's Krista McNamara. May I take this opportunity to have some announcements from the clerk's office?
Oh, certainly, please, Krista, what would you, who would you like to designate?
No, I'm sorry. We had exchanged emails on that, but thank you so much. I do have two announcements for the body. I'm sorry,
Yes,
I can't see you all.
Krista, I have you on the list, but go ahead.
Under announcements?
Yes, ma'am.
Perfect. Thank you. So my two announcements for the RTM. The first being for those of you who are finishing your term in November of 2021, the town clerk's office will be sending out a notice to you all to gauge your interest in re-upping. Per the town charter, Appendix B, you need to notify the town clerk's office by August 24th. So we'll be sending out notification early July, along with the state finance campaign form, Form 1, which you'll fill out to return to us. So we hope you choose to return, but we do need to have that in writing again by the 24th. So we're going to start the process early so we don't have issues with summer vacation. The second issue, I wanted to make sure everyone is aware that Town Hall is closed on Friday. This is our normal hours, not summer hours, but Town Hall is open in person Monday through Thursday from 8 o'clock until 5:15 p.m. I highlight this because if you are having a Monday evening meeting, please make sure to get us your information, your warnings, your agendas in time so that we may maintain our FOIA compliance, which is 24 hours. So please try to get that information to us on Thursday, if so. And last but not least, June is dog licensing month. If you have a dog, please come in, do it in person or by mail. But prices will go up July 1st and every month thereafter. But thanks so much, and I look forward to working with you all.
Thank you, Krista. Further announcements. We have two RTM members from District 5, where this is their last RTM meeting. Cecil Wade and Terry Duffy, and they submitted their resignations, and I just want to wish them the best and thank them for all that they have done for the representative town meeting and for their town. Thank you both. One other item, a further plea to lock your car doors because vandalism is continuing, stolen cars are continuing, and you can really prevent a lot of problems yourselves just by not leaving your keys in the car and also locking the car. Next item, kind of an item on the Board of Education, which was not in the budget and which came up after the Rules Committee. And because of its size, although we're not required to vote on it, I felt in talking to Jack Davis, the chair of the Finance and Budget Committee, that you should all be aware of the amount of money involved and what it was all about. So without further ado, I'll recognize Jack to talk about an appropriation that relates to the Board of Education. We have
Go ahead,
Jack.
Jack.
Hi, I'm Jack Davis, District 3, Chair of the RTM Finance and Budget Committee. In speaking with Seth, we wanted to make sure that everybody was aware of this transaction. The Board of Ed at their June 8th meeting voted to request a special appropriation for a new security system for the school facilities. The special request totaled $225,000, which was a full cost of $325,000, reduced by an existing school security budgeted project of $100,000. So that's the net amount. The Board of Ed discussed the initiative in 3 executive sessions with the Darien Police Department participation. This project will install the same planned security system that's in the Oxridge School Building project. The system also is used by several of the Fairfield County school system and considered an upgrade to the existing security system. The Board of Ed would like to initiate this project the day after the last day of school, which is passed, to ensure that it's operational for the start of the school year. The RTM F&B committee was notified of this project. There were 2 methods to fund the request. The first was through a general fund special appropriation. This would have required RTM approval at this meeting. Special appropriations do, however, require a 10-day window for public objections prior to the funds being available. And so it would have moved it into July. The second method was the use of the Reserve Fund for Capital Non-Recurring Expenditures, Capital Reserve, which does not require RTM approval. It was anticipated that at the end of the year, $552,000 would be in the Capital Reserve. Applying this project would reduce the Capital Reserve to approximately $325,000 a year's end. This is the method of funding chosen by the Board of Finance at their June 15th meeting. The RTM Education and RTM F&B committees were aware of both options. On both of our June 14th meeting, both committees voted unanimously to approve either the use of the reserve capital or a special appropriation as a funding mechanism. We're providing this as an information item and to ensure the members of the RTM that both relevant RTM committees were aware of this request, had Board of Ed representatives at their respective meetings to provide information. Both committees approved unanimously the initiative and supported full Board of Finance discretion in determining the final funding for this initiative. I want to mention that it was a very good collaborative effort between the Board of Ed, the Board of Finance, and your RTM. That's basically the information we're providing at this time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jack. That concludes announcements. Next item on the agenda is nominating an RTM representative to the Town of Darien Technology Committee. I recognize Lois Schneider, Chair of the Technology Committee of the Rules Committee.
Lois, you need to unmute.
Okay, I'm there. I got it. Okay. Good evening. As chair of the RTM Rules Technology, no, anyway. The RTM, we formed the RTM Rules Committee formed the Technology Subcommittee at the beginning of this session, and we've been dealing with a number of issues. One of the issues is there's a request from the town to provide a committee member to the IT Steering and Governance Advisory Committee. We have requested that at previous RTM meeting, and Seth has put out notes to people. And so far, there hasn't been, no one's come forward yet to be on this committee. We believe that, and we're still hopeful that some knowledgeable member of the RTM will come forth, but we may need more time to work on this. And since it's an important committee and we wanted to make sure we represented, our technology subcommittee chose me to be the person that is going to participate in this committee until the town committee until we find somebody permanently. So I'd like to make a motion for Lois Schneider to represent the RTM on the Town IT Steering and Governance Committee until a permanent RTM member is appointed. Are there any questions?
I'm not seeing any hands raised.
Okay, are there anything from the floor? Anything from town officials? All right, are we ready to vote?
Seth, did you have a second?
Oh, I'm sorry, we missed a second. I'm so sorry. Can we have a second, please?
Hang on a second. I see hands are raised. Clara Sartori.
Thank you, Clara. Okay, now, let me get back to where, yeah, so are there any comments from other committees?
I see Clara looks like she has her hand up.
Okay, Clara?
No, I actually had my hand up for the second.
Okay.
I
me
think
just
you
put it down.
noticed. Okay, and I also had it up during the announcements, but I think we've gone beyond that, so
I'm sorry, I missed that.
that's right.
Okay, anything from the floor? Are we ready to vote?
Okay, hang on a
Okay.
second.
Go ahead and post the poll. Thank you.
I'm going to close the poll. 100% of the people voted yes.
Well, that's wonderful. The motion passes. Thank you. Next item is consideration action on the town code change regarding the duration of the term of an employee member to the town pension board for TGSNA. Frank Kemp.
Oh, let's find Frank.
Let me
Frank,
know-
you need to unmute yourself. Frank? Frank, you need to unmute yourself. Seth, do we have a backup to Frank?
Not at the moment. I could call on F&B, Jack Davis, and see if we can get Frank on board. Why don't, I'll recognize Jack Davis from the Finance and Budget Committee for now, and then we'll see if we can get Frank hooked up.
Okay. Jack, you should be unmute.
Yep.
There you go.
I got it. I'm Jack Davis, District 3, Chairman of the RTM Finance and Budget Committee. I move 21-6, consideration and action on the town code change regarding the duration of the term for employee member of the town pension board. Do I hear a second?
Jim Cameron.
If there's no objection, I waive the reading of the resolution. This resolution was basically brought up as the current term for the town employee on the board is 1 year. It made sense from the pension board to have that employee serve for 2 years, as it takes some time to understand and the person is in a better position to contribute to the pension board. That's basically the resolution in a nutshell. And we have to change the Darien code to accommodate the change from 1 year to 2 years. From the F&B perspective, usually F&B reports on resolutions with financial impact. Such is not the case on this resolution. Overall, the committee believed that adding an additional year was beneficial to the operations of the town pension board. The committee voted unanimously to approve this resolution and recommend the same to the full RTM. I did want to add an aside. During our meeting, members of the F&B committee thought it would be beneficial to have a presentation from the pension advisors. Although the RTM does not have authority here, results do affect the annual budgets for the Board of Selectmen, Board of Ed, and the library. Coincidentally, at the Board of Finance meeting, coming from a different perspective, the Board of Finance decided they too should have an update from the pension advisors. Jim Palin, Board of Finance member, noted what had happened in the F&B discussion, and the Board of Finance agreed to invite F&B to their pension presentation. This discussion will inform both the Board of Finance and F&B as to some of the drivers of the pension expense, be it longevity of government workers, adjustments from prior years, pension plan for the new employees, or the defined contribution pension plan effect, target investment return versus actual market, and many other drivers. What I will say is we will keep you posted in the RTM as we move forward on this for anybody else who's interested. Thank you.
Thank you, Jack. Is there a representative from TGSNA? Do we have Joe Michelli with us?
Yes.
Joe, could you report out on TGSNA, just the basics of the vote and a little bit perhaps on the committee's thoughts on this resolution?
Yeah, the vote was unanimous to approve this. And for many of the same reasons that Jack mentioned, it made more sense for this to be for 2 years, this appointment.
This is Frank.
Oh, Frank, welcome. Great to have you.
On the line, and we're all set with what Joe just reported. Our committee met on Tuesday, June 15th, and was unanimously in support of this resolution.
Great, that's terrific. Are there any other committees that wish to report on this? Great,
I don't see any hands raised.
town officials,
Town officials, if you want to speak to it, please send a message to the chat.
and anybody from the floor of the RTM? Okay, I think, are we ready to vote then?
Okay, let me just get your question up. Okay,
By the way, I'm not getting a picture of that, Kate. Maybe I don't need it.
I
but-
just put it up. Do you see it now?
No, not for me personally, but,
Oh, because you're a panelist, Seth, you don't get to vote.
oh, I see. Okay, go ahead and vote.
All right, I'm going to close the poll. It was 99% voting in favor, 1% have abstained.
Wonderful, thank you all. The motion passes. Next item is 21-18. This is taking action on the town code and charter change regarding degendering. And speaking on behalf of TGSNA, Frank Kemp, Chair.
Frank, you should be good to go. Frank? Frank, you need to unmute yourself. I think we've,
All right, I think we got it. I think we got it. I am Frank Kemp, District 4 and Chairman of TGSNA. At this time, I'd like to move item 21-18, which is consideration and action on town code and charter changes regarding degendering technology. Do I hear a second?
Jim Cameron.
Very good, thank you. If there's no objection, I move to waive the full reading of the resolution. Thank you. The TGSNA committee met virtually on Tuesday, June 15th to review this request and the resolution we have before us this evening. At that meeting, TGSNA prepared 2 technical changes to the resolution and asked the town clerk to publish the supplement to our members, which was done on Friday, the 18th. With Kate's help, we should be seeing that one-page supplement on our screens. Yes, this actually go back a page, Kate, to the supplement that came out, which is the amendment. This is an amendment to the resolution. Let me assure you that the changes are procedural and grammatical and do not have anything to do with the intent or direction of the matter at hand. Therefore, I'd like to move that the proposed amendment be adopted as presented in the supplement, and then I'll turn back to the moderator for seconding and any discussion and a vote to amend the resolution 21-18 prior to our going further with the TGSNA report.
Okay, so we have a second, please? This is second on the amendment.
Okay, just a second. Let me. Okay, there's your, Frank, is that what you're looking for? You have
Yes,
Christine Castles.
that is what was sent out by the town clerk and what we should vote on right now.
Did we get a second?
You had multiple seconds.
Okay, discussion? Any other committees? Why don't you, Frank, do you have anything to add on the amendment? Just about discussion or whatever?
No, it's
Yeah, it is mostly.
if you'll say technical matters that members of the TGSNA suggested. At the next to the last paragraph, we're appending the words as approved by the RTM. In the final paragraph, we're striking the words that have to do, which we say may wish to consider, and substituting the words is authorized to fund this resolution. So it's a little stronger than it was and technically correct.
Okay. Are there any other committees? Jack, do you want to speak to this now or wait till the vote?
Sure. I can say that the F&B committee reviewed this and it's in line with the thought process. We'll go into greater depth after the amendment is approved and it's time for the F&B report.
Okay, any other committees on the amendment?
I don't see any hands.
Town officials?
Again, town officials, if you want to speak, send us a message to the chat function. I'm not seeing anything.
Members of the RTM?
I do not see any hands raised, Seth.
Okay, ready to vote on the amendment?
Okay.
Okay, go
Okay.
ahead, post the amendment. Thanks.
I'm going to close the poll. And the amendment passes 94% voting in favor, 3% voting against, 3% abstaining.
Okay, the amendment passes. We are now discussing the amended motion, the amended resolution as a whole. Frank, do you have anything additional?
Well, yes, as a report from the TGS&A meeting of the 15th, we reviewed the background material that has been prepared in support of the resolution. Now, this is the same material we all received with the warning for this meeting, and it was reviewed by the Rules Committee twice on April 26th and June 7th. Now, thank you, Kate. With Kate's help, we can quickly scroll through the backgrounder. After the table of contents, which we're looking at right now, the next thing is we have a good description of gender-neutral language as is taken from Wikipedia. And next we have a Q&A, which we can return to in a moment. The next page, we have a proposal from Municode for performing this service. Municode, I might note, is a service bureau that maintains the actual text of our charter and ordinances, as well as for 4,000 municipalities all over the country. The Municode proposal describes the work that they will perform as a two-step process. First, they'll review our code to identify language in need of gender-neutral revision and supply us with a report identifying areas with recommended alternative language. Now, what happens next is interesting, since they will surely be changes recommended for the town charter portion of our code. The traditional sequence for a charter change kicks in. This means that there will be a public notice in the paper advising any interested parties to present their comments at a public hearing, such as was conducted for the blight ordinance or the recent ordinance on reusable bags or any other charter change that has ever been made. And then, as prescribed for any charter change, no matter how small, the RTM cannot take this matter up for 60 days, allowing for due consideration of the public's views, town officials' comments, and indeed those of us serving on the RTM. After the RTM acts on the changes, Municode will undertake phase 2 of the project, which is actually placing the changes that we authorize into the official copy of our municipal code. As you've seen in the text of this proposal, the charges are $3,000 for phase 1, the report, and then $1,500 for the implementation of the changes that the RTM ultimately approves. Finally, the background package shows 2 pages of a typical Municode Phase 1 report. It's for Mataland, Florida. And then the next 2 pages, the last 2 pages in this package, is a report from the city of Miami, illustrating how the changes are actually implemented in Phase 2. Of course, the ordinance that our RTM would consider would be customized to our liking. These sheets were only provided as an illustration. Now, could we return to the Q&A page, which was near the front? Question number 1 is, do we have to do this? Is gender addressed in the code right now? The answer is no. We don't have to do this. Our code has the usual disclaimer dating back at least to the 1972 version of the charter. Section 1-2, there's a typo on the page, it's not 1-3, it's 1-2, says words of one gender include all other genders. Now, this has been a standard way around the issue, although all of our code work in the past few years has made a real effort to be gender neutral, as has all new legislation coming from Hartford to other states, Congress, and even the UN. Questions 2, 3, and 4 are interesting, and we can address them in our further discussion. So, after reviewing this background material, the TGSNA committee composed and unanimously approved the amendments that we have just voted on, and then approved the resolution as amended and recommended the same to the full RTM. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Frank. Very thorough, appreciate it. Next, I'll recognize the chair of the Finance and Budget Committee, Jack Davis.
Thanks for the correction. I'm Jack Davis, District 3 Chair of the Finance and Budget Committee. I'll be addressing the final provision of this resolution. It's in place to ensure that this resolution does not loop back for potential funding approved by the RTM. As it is amended, be it further resolved that the Board of Finance is authorized to fund this resolution from the Board of Finance contingency or the town's general fund, or the Board of Selectmen is authorized to transfer funds as they may determine to fund this resolution. As Frank mentioned, the cost of this project is $4,500. There are essentially 3 ways to pay for this project. 2 do not require RTM approval, but are there as a reference. Those 2 funding alternatives are the Board of Selectmen transfer between operating accounts, or the Board of Finance use of the Board of Finance contingency reserve account, which currently has about $109,000 left at the end of May, and we'll have $250,000 at the start of the new year. It's the third option. Special appropriation from the town's general fund would require Board of Selectmen, Board of Finance, and RTM approval. The rationale for including this verbiage is to provide both the Board of Selectmen and the Board of Finance with pre-approval by the RTM for this funding option. As such, if this option was selected, the resolution would not have to loop back to the RTM, as we would have already approved this use of the town general fund, and as such, the approval would be done once the Board of Finance takes action. Should be noted, as mentioned by TGSNA report given by Frank, that the final changes upon the completion of the project would still require the town code and charger to be reviewed and approved. The RTM F&B committee voted unanimously in favor of this resolution and recommends the same to the full RTM. Thank you.
Thank you, Jack. Are there comments from any other committees?
I don't see any hands raised, Seth.
All right. Any from town officials?
Again, town officials, if you wish to speak, please send us a message through the chat function. I am not seeing anything.
Okay, and comments from the RTM floor?
Okay, hang on. Okay, Claire Sartori.
I
Yes.
just, I wondered how you came up with the supplier Municode. Did you look at a lot of different organizations who do this kind of work, and how did you choose Municode, or how were they chosen?
Frank,
Mr. Moderator, I could answer that.
please.
When we looked into the situation, we checked with town council to see if his office would like to undertake this project, which, as you can imagine, requires a lot of detailed work. Town council said he'd take it under consideration, but that we knew that Municode was offering this as a service to their customers. In that Municode now has custody of our code and maintains it on a regular basis. So that's when we look into the town's website to look up something on the charter or ordinances. We're looking at the data in the Municode system. It seemed to be a slam dunk to have them do it. They provided the examples of the work they've been doing. And as you can see in the proposal, they have a very orderly way of going through it. In fact, so orderly that it takes them, they're forecasting 60 days to get back with a phase 1 report, which runs us pretty much through the summer. So there's a lot of detail work involved. And I would say that rather than getting 3 competitive bids on the project, as is customary when you're buying computers or whatever, it seemed appropriate to go with a company that has our data in the first place.
Okay, Seth Edward Washeka has a question.
Yes, who was it?
Yeah, Ed Washeka, District 3. Sorry. I guess I just don't understand why we don't do this ourselves. Like, it seems to me that this isn't that much more than a Word document searching for words. I don't know. It just, the idea that we're going to pay money to have someone do something that certainly doesn't sound that complicated. Like, I don't want to say I could do it. I've never read the town code, but I mean, I don't know. It seems to me that we do not need to spend money for this. We should be able to do it ourselves. And if somehow, again, I don't know what happens if somebody gets sort of something wrong, but this seems like overkill to hire a consultant for this.
Thank you.
Okay, can I add to that?
Other comments?
I think Wayne wants to say something.
Wayne,
Yes.
town council.
Thank you. That is a fair question. Just to add a bit to what Frank had mentioned, keep in mind that Municode now works for the town. They are the professionals that have the final wordsmithing, if you will, with respect to ordinances that we draft or charter changes that we may make. It was much more efficient to have the professionals do it, who do it all day long, and they are very good at it, as opposed to, with no disrespect to anyone, trying to put together a committee of the RTM to go through the whole charter, which would take, in my opinion, would take a significant additional amount of time to put together the necessary changes to bring about the conclusions that they wish to reach. So in my opinion, I expressed this to Frank, as a practical matter, it is a relatively small amount of money to have the professionals that do nothing but work on codes to do it efficiently and well for the town. Thank you.
Thank you, Wayne. Other comments?
Martha Luz.
Martha,
Martha, you need to unmute your
Hi.
screen.
Yes. I'm just wondering if the intention is to be gender neutral, how did they come out on he, she? Is that enough? Does that satisfy what gender neutral is today?
Frank, do you want that, or-
I'll attempt an answer. A member of TGSA committee pointed out the very same topic, that if you're up on this and very literate, there is another way from he, she. I don't frankly know the format we'll receive back. As you could see in the illustration in the handout, it did come back he, she. And I don't know whether they have changed their method of operation. But in that, we have discretion within Darien to make the changes once they are identified. If we find that he, she is not enough, we can certainly take that under advisement and make the change appropriate. He, she has been a great step forward. The question of how far forward is appropriate at this point. Frankly, I'm not that much of a student of the topic, so I can't really address it, except to say that when we get the report, we can then work with it.
Thank you, Frank. Other comments?
Eric Cannigan.
Eric,
Yeah, hi, Eric Hannigan, District 3. Did this come out of a formal complaint, or is it more precautionary?
Neither. It was a request generated by a constituent, and then after an informal survey as to whether we should go forward with it, received wholehearted support. So at that point, I contacted Dwayne, and we described what process we went through after that. So I would say that it was not a complaint, and it was not precautionary. We could say it's precautionary, but that was not the motivation.
thank you.
I've got Frank Edelman.
Frank?
Yeah, thank you, Seth. I just want to respond to what Caroline mentioned, and to your comment, Frank Huck. If this is, I guess the pronouns that people use to refer to themselves are kind of evolving and changing, maybe faster now than they have in the past. I guess I'd suggest that as part of this process, that we would want to have some kind of feedback or input from either the public and or someone who might be more expert on this. Maybe it'd be important to have a public hearing on this topic. People who are not interested in the topic will self-select out, and people who feel strongly about it will come to make their views known. But it would be a shame to spend the money, as Ed described, and then end up with a product that is shaped by folks in the body who may not have as much sensitivity to this issue as maybe we want to have. Thank you.
Yeah, Frank?
Mr. Moderator, if I may comment, to be very clear, since we're changing something within the charter, we must have a public hearing, and it's probably very beneficial to have a public hearing where some of the subtleties of this issue can be brought forward, and then some decisions made as to what the texture of the changes would be. We would be working with the phase 1 report from Unicode, which identifies the area that is a candidate for change. And then it's entirely our decision, Darienne's decision, as to what format to use to make the corrections.
Oh, thank you, Frank. Other comments?
I see no hands raised at the moment.
All right, then are we ready to vote?
Okay, so we're voting on the resolution as amended.
Correct. Proceed. Let's proceed with the vote.
Okay, I'm going to close the poll. 81% voting yes, 15% voting no, 4% have abstained.
Thank you all. Motion passes. Next item is consideration action on reappointment of William Jessup to the 5 Mile River Commission. Speaking on behalf of the Park and Recreation Committee, Adele Coniff, Chair.
Go ahead, Adele, you have to, there you go.
Yeah, there it goes. Takes a while, doesn't it? Adele Coniff, District 3, RTM Parks and Recreation Committee. I'd like to move 2119, consideration and action on nomination of William Jessup to the 5 Mile River Commission for the submission to the governor for appointment. Do I have a second?
Hang on a second, you do. Cheryl Russell.
With no objection, I'd like to waive the reading of the resolution. The 5 Mile River Commission is a state agency established by Connecticut statute with regulatory jurisdiction over the use of 5 Mile River, including navigation, pollution, and conservation. The commission is guided by ordinances adopted by Darien and Norwalk and oversees the harbor superintendent as well as regulating the use of ramps, docks, floats, and moorings in the river. The commission collects fees from all boats moored or berthed at docks, slips, floats, and piers. The fees are primarily used for maintenance dredging of the federal channel. The commission also reviews applications for waterfront construction activities, issuing written decisions as appropriate. There are 4 commissioners, 2 from Darien and 2 from Norwalk, who are appointed by the governor of Connecticut. At present, Craig Young and William Jessup represent Darien. This request is for the reappointment of William Jessup to the commission. William Jessup has been a commissioner since 2004. He's a former chairman of Save the Sound and currently is the general manager of Norotan Yacht Club and executive director of Landfall Navigation Marine Training Center. Matthew Marion, chairman of the 5 Mile River Commission, wrote in the commission's letter of recommendation the following. He has provided exemplary service during his tenure on the commission and brings a wide range of skills to bear on the commission's work. He's an excellent representative of the interests of Darien, and we hope will continue to serve in this capacity on the commission for many years. Both the 5 Mile River Commission and the Darien Board of Selectmen voted unanimously in support of this recommendation. The RTM Parks and Recreation Committee, in a meeting on June 14th with 12 of 15 members present, constituting a quorum, voted unanimously in support of Darien, recommending appointment of William Jessup to the governor for membership on the 5 Mile River Commission. We hope the RTM will support this nomination as well.
Thank you, Adele. Are there any other committees that wish to report?
I don't see any hands raised.
Are there any members of, any town officials who wish to comment?
I'm not seeing anything, Seth.
Okay, and any members of the RTM who wish to comment?
Yeah, hang on a second. Jim Cameron.
Yes.
Thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Great. Thank you. Mr. Jessup is obviously very well qualified. I think he'll do a great job. I just have one small procedural question. The application that he filled out that you included in the packet showed that he is a registered Democrat, but was applying independently. And I'm wondering if the DTC passed judgment on his application or had any other candidates themselves. Thank you.
Not to my knowledge. Adele, you,
David Bain is here. Looks like he's willing to answer.
okay, David?
Yeah, hi, I'm chairman of the DTC. We were unaware of the opening, so we did not search for a candidate. just to answer Jim's question. So that's it. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Any other comments?
I'm not seeing any hands raised.
Okay. Ready to vote?
Okay. Hang on. Okay.
Thank you. Go ahead and post the poll.
Okay, closing the poll. 99% voted in favor, 1% voted no.
Thank you. The item passes. Next item is 2120, consider and take action on amending Appendix B of the code regarding mailing of RTM warnings, agendas, resolutions. Speaking on behalf of the Technology Committee of the Rules Committee of the RTM, Lois Schneider. Chair.
Good evening. My name is Lois Schneider. I'm from District 1 and I'm chair of the RTM Rules Technology Subcommittee. I would like to move Resolution 21-20 to amend Appendix B, Part 4, Section 4 of the Rules of Procedure of the Representative Town Meeting. Do I have a second?
I saw Sandra Savage.
Okay. If there are no objections, I'd like to waive the full reading of the resolution. The RTM Rules Technology Subcommittee was created during this session of the RTM to look at ways that technology can be used and to smooth out some of the RTM things and look at things that needed to be changed. As a result of that, one of the items we came up with is the proposing a change to the RTM Rules of Procedure with respect to the distribution of warnings, agendas, and resolutions for full RTM meeting. The recommendation is to provide all RTM members with this information electronically and allow members to opt out of receiving the information through the mail. This assures that anyone who wants a mail copy can get it, but for those who do not, time and postage in the town's clerk's office can be saved. In addition, the minutes, and just so we all understand, the minutes and backup materials are already provided only electronically, and they are available on the town website. As part of the process, we propose adding a question to the preference sheets that all members fill out at the beginning of each RTM session. In addition to our email request on the preference sheet, we're recommending suggest we're adding a section that says all warnings, agendas, and resolutions for full RTM meetings are distributed electronically. Do you also want this information mailed to you? Yes or no? Okay. If a person does not fill this out, they will receive the information by mail in addition to electronically. So that's the default of it getting the mailing. This action will begin with the 2021-2022 RTM session, which starts in November 21st, 2021. The RTM Rules Technology Subcommittee unanimously recommends this resolution to the full RTM.
Thank you, Lois. Speaking on behalf of the TGS&A Committee, Frank Kemp, Chair.
Frank, you need to unmute yourself. Frank, you need to unmute yourself. Looks like we might be having a problem with Frank's connection again.
Oh dear. All right. Joe, could you comment on the thoughts of the TGSNA committee on this?
Joe, you need to unmute yourself.
You know, I realized I'd messed that up. If I get a second chance, I'll read it again.
Thank you, Frank.
TGSNA committee met virtually on Tuesday, June 15th with 9 of 10 members present and unanimously approved this resolution and recommends the same to the full RTM. Respectfully submitted, Frank Kemp, Chair of TGSNA.
Oh, lovely. Thank you. Any other committees wish to report? Town officials?
The town clerk would like to speak.
Yes, Krista.
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to thank Lois and the RTM Rules Committee on Technology for undertaking this initiative. The town clerk's office is also fully in support of it, though we do not have a vote. We hope it would get the information to you faster and certainly will save maybe not trees, but a lot of branches. So we do hope you support this for those of you who are comfortable. Thank you.
Thank you, Krista. Any other town officials?
I have not seen anything from any of them.
Okay. RTM members?
Yes, Jim Cameron has had his hand up.
James.
Thank you. I wholeheartedly endorse this idea. If you're at all concerned about wasting time of staff and money on paper and postage, I encourage you to vote yes. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Any other RTM members?
I don't see any hands up.
Okay, are we ready to vote?
Okay, this is 2120.
2120.
Okay, there you go. Okay, closing the poll. Vote is unanimous.
Thank you all. The next item is 2121, special appropriation to increase Park and Rec revenue by $250,000 and increase the appropriation for Park and Rec expenditures by the same amount. Speaking on behalf of the Finance and Budget Committee, Jack Davis, Chair.
I'm Jack Davis, District 3, Chair of the Finance and Budget Committee. I move Resolution 2121, resolution of the RTM of the Town of Darien to consider an appropriation in the amount of $250,000 to replenish the program expense account of the Park and Rec Department and increase the fiscal year Park and Rec budgeted revenue by an equal amount of $250,000. Do I hear a second?
Jenny Schwartz.
Thank you, Jenny. I'm actually going to read the resolution because we're going to propose an amendment to the last section. Whereas the Park and Rec Commission has established new programming accounts for its operating budget, and whereas the commission has had to project programming revenues and expenses for the current year, and whereas the program registrations have increased by approximately 215% compared to the spring of 2019, whereas this has resulted in additional revenue, but has resulted in additional expenses, which have depleted the expense account. And whereas this appropriation has been approved by both the Board of Finance and the Board of Selectmen, and I am recommending the following amendment. Now therefore be it resolved that the representative town meeting of the town of Darien hereby approves a special appropriation in the amount of $250,000 to replenish the expense account for the Park and Recs Department and to increase its budgeted revenue by an equal amount of $250,000 through June 30th, 2021. Do I have a second on the motion to amend Resolution 2121? There a second?
Seth, can you hear me?
Yes.
Did we lose Jack?
No, I'm here. I'm waiting for a second.
He just was wondering if we had a second.
Okay, I see Jenny Schwartz again.
Okay.
Thank you, Jenny.
This amendment better clarifies the transaction. The F&B committee met on the 14th and again tonight on the 21st and unanimously approved this amendment. I hand it back for a vote on the amendment to the moderator.
Okay. Adele, do you have anything on the amendment?
Hang on a second. I don't see Adele's hand raised.
Okay. Town officials?
Wait, hang on a second. There she is.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead, Adele.
There you go. No, nothing to add. It sounds good.
Okay. Other committees?
I'm not seeing any hands raised.
Okay. Town officials? RTM members?
I'm not seeing anything.
We ready to vote?
This is on the amendment.
So we're voting on the amendment. Go ahead and post.
Okay, closing the poll. 96% voting yes, 1% no, 3% are abstaining.
Okay.
Back to the report.
The amendment passes. Jack, on the motion as amended?
Thank you. This resolution is a special appropriation to increase the current fiscal year's Park and Rec program expense appropriation by $250,000 with a corresponding increase to the current year's Park and Rec budgeted revenue by an equal amount of $250,000. Increasing the current year's budgeted revenue is the equivalent of using the town's general funds. It's just a lot cleaner. Current year's budget remains in balance, and there is no net effect to the year-end balances. As some background, about 3 years ago, the accounting for program expenses changed. In the past, revenues and expenses were netted in a contra account. The change that had happened recorded a separate program expense appropriation and a separate program revenues, and they were two separate line items. Due to COVID, and new programmings instituted in the program expenses have been running higher than the historic 5-year run rate. The Board of Finance has that on a cumulative run rate each month. As of March 31st, the Park and Rec program expense was approximately $6,000 over budget. As May 31st, the deficit had increased to $141,192.29 and has grown to $221,024.49 as of June 15. It should be noted that program revenue was approximately $432,000 over budget as of May 31st. As many of you know, Board of Selectmen expense line items cannot be over the approved appropriated budget without a remedy. Hence, this is an expense-driven special appropriation, and revenues can be over budget without any adjustments. F&B reviewed the calculation by the Park and Rec Department in determining how the $250,000 amount was derived. Expenses for the period of April through June 2019 was $115,000. That was the last year where we had a normal non-COVID event. Current year's enrollment was up 113%. By implying the current year's enrollment increase to the 2019 expense, the estimated fiscal year 21 same expense would be approximately $244,950 rather, which was rounded up to $250,000. This was deemed reasonable by the F&B committee. In addition, using the 5-year running average, F&B was able to come relatively close to the $250,000 estimate. The F&B committee met on both June 14th and June 21st and voted unanimously in favor of this resolution, 14 to 0, and recommends the same to the full RTM. I also want to give a shout out to Pam Gary and Jennifer Chinesky for their consult and the information they provided to the committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Jack. Speaking on behalf of the Park and Rec Committee, Adele Coniff, Chair.
Thank you. Adele Coniff, District 3, Parks and Recreation Committee. To quote Pam Gary, Director of the Darien Parks and Recreation Department, this past year has been extremely challenging, unlike any year we have endured before. With these challenges also came new learning experiences, and two things became abundantly clear. Parks are essential, and pre-pandemic ways of operating are forever changed. The department made sure that our parks were safe places for our residents and became ever more creative with programming. People rediscovered our parks. With everyone staying close to home last summer, many of the week-long summer sports camps were maxed out. Town program participation this year has increased dramatically. More sections of programs were offered due to popular demand, as well as new programs across all age groups. Tennis, soccer, pickleball, golf, rugby, fencing, yoga, archery, basketball, woodworking, mad science, cupcake club, swimming, ukulele, guitar, piano, sprout chefs, flag football, squash, volleyball, and grit ninja lessons and camps were offered by Park and Rec to children age appropriate. Of particular note is a new Grit Ninja program, which had 200 participants. Adults and children enjoyed pickleball lessons with approximately 170 participants. Paddle court usage was up 84% from 2020 and 75% from 2019. 2021 paddle court revenue was $104,600. Tennis had 500 spring registrants. The department also added some virtual programming throughout the year. This spring, CodeWiz online coding classes were offered. Coding virtual games, of course. Net revenue for fiscal 2020-2021 as of June 2nd was $340,000. The RTM Parks and Recreation Committee met on June 14th with 12 of 15 members present, constituting a quorum, and voted 11 in favor, 0 against, with 1 abstention to support adding $250,000 to replenish an expense account for Parks and Recreation and $250,000 to the Parks and Recreation revenue account. Please support this accounting measure. Parks and Recreation had an amazingly successful year. Parks are essential. Thank you.
Thank you, Adele. Are there any other committees that wish to report?
I do not see any hands raised.
Okay, town officials?
Any town officials that wish to speak, if you'd send us a quick chat message. Not seeing anything, Seth.
Okay, members of the RTM?
I do not see any hands raised.
Okay, then are we ready to vote?
Okay, so we're voting on 2121 as amended.
Yes.
Okay, closing the poll. 97% have voted in favor, 3% are abstaining.
Motion passes. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for all of the work and the participation. The next item on the agenda is 21-22. Authorizing the town of Darien to submit an application for a grant for preparation and adoption of an affordable housing plan. Speaking on behalf of the Planning, Zoning, and Housing Committee, Amy Barsanti, Chair.
Hello, this is Amy Barsanti, Chairman of the RTM Planning, Zoning, and Housing Committee. I move Resolution 21-22, consideration and action to authorize the submission of an application for a grant for the preparation and adoption of affordable housing plan. Do I have a second?
Jim Cameron.
Okay. Without objection, I will waive the reading of the resolution. On June 14th, the Planning, Zoning, and Housing Committee met online via GoToMeeting. We had 8 members of our 13-person committee present, representing a quorum. The meeting was jointly held with the F&B Committee. Additionally, Jeremy Ginsburg, the Planning Zoning Director, was also present to answer the group's questions. The state of Connecticut recently notified towns with populations under 50,000 that there are grant funds available for the preparation and adoption of an affordable housing plan. There is 500,000 in total available. Individual towns may apply for up to 15,000 grant. Grants will be awarded on a first come, first served basis, and applications can be submitted anytime from June 4th, 2021 through to October 31st, 2022. The town of Darien already has funds appropriated for the creation of this plan. The state requires municipalities to complete their plan by July 2022. It is anticipated that the creation of a plan may take up to 9 to 10 months, and if awarded a grant, it would be used towards defraying anticipated consultant expenses. Our committee was satisfied that the Planning and Zoning Department would benefit from receiving the grant and saw no reason to not authorize the approval for this application. Our group voted unanimously in favor of the resolution and recommend the same to the full RTM.
Thank you very much, Amy. Now speaking on behalf of the Finance and Budget Committee, Jack Davis, Chair.
I'm Jack Davis, District 3, Chair of the RTM Finance and Budget Committee. As Amy mentioned at a joint meeting on June 14th with the RTM PZH Committee with Jeremy Ginsburg present, this resolution was discussed. I will attempt not to repeat any of the information that Amy just provided. This is the first plan required by a 2017 law, which requires all communities to perform an affordable housing plan every 5 years. During the fiscal year 22 budget process, $25,000 was added to the reserve fund for capital non-recurring expenditures to work with consultants to prepare the plan for Darien. Jeremy also noted that some work has been done by Westcog assisting in the preparation of these plans. The state is offering this on a first come, first served basis for up to $15,000. The total pool of these grants is $500. One of the grants requirements, as was mentioned, is that the town's legislative body approve the submission of an application for the grant. That's what we're doing today. The committee believes that giving such authorization for the submission of the application of a grant is a great idea, especially as this is the first time such a report is being created. The committee wants to thank Jeremy Ginsburg for his insights and help in reviewing this resolution. F&B voted unanimously to approve this resolution and recommends the same to the full RTM. Thank you.
Thank you, Jack. Are there any other committees?
I don't see any hands raised.
Okay, town officials?
I'm not seeing anybody putting a chat in.
Okay, members of the RTM?
Frank Edelman?
Frank?
Frank, you're muted.
Sorry about that. Yeah, so just one quibble. There was in fact an affordable housing plan that the town developed and was in fact published on the town's website, was out there for several years. I think that was published in about 2010 or 2011 if memory serves. That was early when I was serving on Plan and Zoning and Housing. So there was a plan, but certainly needs to be updated. It's been quite a long time. Thank you, and I would support this measure.
Thanks, Frank.
You had Nicholas Branca?
Okay, Nicholas.
Yes, hi there. I'm from District 4. I just had a question on this in terms of, you know, the money that the state is offering. Is it just along the lines of here's money for you to submit the plan, or are there some types of other requirements attached, such as the state has to do feedback, or I'm just wondering if there's any strings attached to the money or if it's just really a gift to the communities.
This is Kate Bush. I'll answer that. The Board of Selectmen asked that same question tonight. There is nothing in the grant application that indicates that there are any conditions other than the typical one that this be included in our single audit at year end. We will receive a grant agreement after this is approved and our application is made. And at that time, if there are any further conditions that we would have an issue with, we can always turn the grant down.
Great,
Okay,
thank you.
great. Any other members?
Jack?
Jack?
Yes, this is Jack Davis. I did want to respond to Frank's. Yes, there is an affordable housing plan that was done, but this is a different affordable housing plan as required by the state, and it's based upon the law. So it's not that we didn't have one, it's that this is the first of the 5 years that have to be done. So it will be a different report and meet the state requirements. And that's part of the reason why there's funding here, and also, you know, it makes a lot of sense to get the 15,000, providing there's not a lot of strings attached.
Okay, other members?
Cheryl Russell?
Cheryl?
Cheryl, you need to unmute yourself. There you go.
Okay. Yes, good evening, everybody. Not to belabor this, but 1, 2, 3, 4, the fifth and the last whereas. The town has previously appropriated funds to the Affordable Housing Plan to this grant. If received, would be in place of a portion of the taxpayers' funded appropriation. Could someone please explain that to me?
What that means, Cheryl, is the town has approved already in a previous budget $25,000 for the Affordable Housing Plan. We do not have to appropriate this grant. We think we can accomplish what we need to do for the full $25,000. So basically, if we get the grant, we'll have $15,000 that can be returned to the capital funds fund balance.
So the 15,000 would offset the 25,000.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you said.
So the 15,000 would offset the 25,000?
Yes, it would.
And there are no strings attached to this, Kate?
At this time, we are not aware of any.
Thank you.
Thank you, Cheryl. Other members of the RTM?
Jack has his hand up again.
Jack?
No, I'm taking it down.
Okay.
Okay. Any other members?
I don't see any hands up.
All right, and are we ready to vote?
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, closing the poll. 94% have voted yes, 4% no, 1% abstaining.
Terrific. Item 21-22 passes. That's great. It's the last item on the agenda. I think this agenda shows everyone the complexities of running the town. There's a lot of little pieces that have to fit together to make things go right. And I think this body can be very happy with the amount that's been done tonight in a fairly reasonable period of time. So I just want to thank everybody. A great job on the part of the committees. Thank you all. I will accept a motion to adjourn.
Michael Castillo,
Do I have a second, please?
Carrie Duffy.
Right. Proceed to vote.
It looks like I'm going to close the polling. 98% yes, 2% no.
Okay, the ayes
You
have,
have a couple of hands raised. I don't know what you want to do about that.
the meeting just voted to adjourn.
Okay,
The meeting's adjourned.
good night then.
Thank you all.